Hey guys. So, excuse the no makeup hoodie catastrophe that is. It's been a week and you haven't seen my face in a while, so I figured I would show my face, although it's not the best face right now. It's been a really rough week. My husband's working overtime, which means he may as well be gone because my kids don't see him. He's gone before they get up and he gets home after they go to bed. So I am solo momming it, which is super tough, and I think I'm getting a cold, and it's just been a really rough, exhausting week. Oh, my ring light died. So I hope this is still, let me check the camera here. You can still see me. I hope this is, you can still see me, but I wanted to, quickly share, I went to Renfest on Sunday, which was super fun. Renfest being the Minnesota Renaissance Festival. Really, Kat? Luna's being a giant pain as usual. And I had a lot of fun. I dressed up and with what I had, and I really enjoyed myself. And I grabbed a few things from there. So first things first, and I'm so excited about this. I got a drinking horn. Like, how cool is that? I'm so thrilled. It's pretty small, but I really kind of just wanted like a basic small. I didn't need anything extravagant, but I've always wanted a drinking horn, so yes, drinking horn. I promptly filled it with mead after I got it, which was amazing. And then over there, the Renaissance Festival always has this crystal shop, and it wasn't in the same place that it was before, so I didn't think that I would find it. And then as my husband and I were making our way out, I found it, so I grabbed a few things. First thing first is this little, I hope it focuses, it's a pendant. It's flame quartz. It's the quartz that is made with titanium gas. It's really cool. It's very like iridescent and rainbowy. And then I grabbed a couple of quartz points just because they were very inexpensive, and you can always use more quartz. It's an amplifier and it's super helpful. And then I grabbed a moonstone. This is Brazilian moonstone. It's really pretty. So with that being said, the other thing that I kind of wanted to talk about in this video is I've gotten a lot of requests about endometriosis. Well, as some of you know, I have endometriosis, and this is not going to be pagan related at all. It's just I have had people ask me about sharing a little bit about it, and I figured, you know, I'm very much about trying to get more awareness of this disease, because 1 in 10 women have it, and there's not enough. There's just not enough out there about it. And I'll get more into that. Sorry, like I said, I think I'm getting a cold. So, what is endometriosis? Sorry, I'm turning down something. Endometriosis is basically where the cells that make up the lining of the uterus that is shed once a month, which turns into your period, are found in other places in the pelvic cavity and or other parts of the body. In rare cases, it can even be found in the brain, but that's extremely rare. Why does this happen? We don't really know, which sucks. So there's no cure, and it is a chronic disease. Some women can walk around with, much like cancer, it's categorized in stages, and some women can walk around with stage 4 and feel absolutely no pain. Stage 4 means the presence of the disease has completely like wrecked your pelvic cavity. And I have stage 2, so I have some of the presence of the disease, but the thing that sucks is that although I have stage 2, I have pretty severe pain and I have chronic pain from it. And part of the theory behind that is that it when it embeds in your pelvic cavity into the tissue, it kind of embeds further down, and so you can't fully get rid of it, and then it inflames and it causes chronic pain. So I get a lot of pain throughout my daily life. I am on hormone therapy for for it, and I've been on various different types of birth control. There are more hefty types of hormone therapy, like shots and stuff, that I refuse to go on because the side effects are just, it's a doozy. But I'm right now on an IUD, and it's been working pretty well. For the first year I had it, it worked flawlessly, and then after I stopped nursing my son, I started to get more flare-ups. But I suppose I could chronologically kind of explain my journey with it. So when I was 14, I'd already been having a cycle for 2 years, and everything was fine, and then suddenly it was horrible. It was so bad that I passed out from the pain once in school. My friends had to carry me to the nurse's office. When I woke up, she handed me a pamphlet and basically was like, oh, this is what's happening to your body. Like, it was no big deal that I was passing out from the pain and writhing in pain, curled up in a fetal position crying. That's not okay. That's not normal. If your cycle is that bad, that's not normal. So this went on throughout my teens to the point where I tried to figure it out, but there's just not enough. And I didn't get enough help. I didn't get enough people listening to me. So finally, by the time I was 18, I was put on hormonal birth control, and each birth control pill I would be on for a while, but then it just wouldn't help much. And so when I was in my early 20s, I didn't have a whole lot of money, and I didn't have insurance, and I couldn't be on my parents' insurance. I had nothing. So I went to Planned Parenthood, and one day I came in crying, saying I couldn't take the pain anymore. And one of the doctors looked at me and she said, this sounds like endometriosis. And I was like, I've heard a little bit about that, but I don't really know what it is. And she said, I wish we had the tools to diagnose you, but we just don't have the resources. So thankfully, because of their direction, I was able to get on state insurance, and I found my doctor. Well, this was not before going through tons of doctors who told me that my pain was not true, that I was exaggerating, that it was all in my head. One doctor tried to tell me that I had an infection, and I was like, without even doing any testing, mind you. He was just like, oh, this sounds like an infection. And I was like, really? For the last decade? You'd think I would have been dead. But I have left doctor's offices crying, thinking I was crazy. It's been an insane journey. Well, I finally found my doctor, who I've had since 2012. I went into her office, and the first time I met her, excuse me, I said, I think I'm getting a cold. The first time I met her, she came in and she sat down and she said, so it seems like we're thinking you might have endometriosis. Well, I'm here to listen. And I started crying because finally someone was taking me seriously, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I told her everything that I'd experienced, and goodness me. She said, okay, well, the only real way to diagnose endometriosis is through surgery, so we're going to have to open you up. This thought scared me, but it wasn't my first surgery, so I was like, okay, if it gets an answer, So I went under about a month later, and I remember waking up and asking the nurse in recovery if they found anything, and she looked at me and said, yes, you have it. And I started crying. And it was a mix of emotions. It was partially because I had something that had no cure, and it would affect me for the rest of my life, and I didn't know if I could have kids. And the other part of it was because all of my pain, everything that I experienced, it was real. It was true. And I was not crazy. And it really affected me. Well, right around this time that I was diagnosed is when my pain became chronic. And of course, as I said, that's what caused me to seek help, to become an advocate. And I can do a giant rant on becoming an advocate for your health, because there are so many doctors that do not take women's pain seriously. It's ridiculous. So after that, it was basically, we can try hormone therapy, but you're probably going to need another surgery at some point. That's just how this disease works. It grows back, you need other surgeries. It sucks. I've had 2 so far, but within the year that I had my first surgery, my doctor basically told me that I needed to have kids as soon as possible. And I put it on the back burner for a bit because I was really scared to have kids. Well, by the time I was right after I turned 28, like literally the week that I turned 28, I looked at my husband one day and I burst into tears, and I was like, what if we've lost our chance? I don't think I can go through this life without becoming a mother. I need to at least try. And sure enough, oh, hello, Prue. She has arrived again. Sure enough, oh my gosh, cat. It took me a few months, but I did end up getting pregnant, and I ended up having a healthy boy. But that was a whole whirlwind of mess too, because I actually, late in my pregnancy with my first son, I contracted what's called CMV, and it's in the mono family, and about 80% of the population carries it, but it's dormant in their systems, much like mono. Well, apparently I had never had it, and because my immune system was compromised housing a baby in my body, I contracted it from my husband, who apparently had been a carrier all these years. Well, CMV is very dangerous for pregnant women. It can cause very serious defects to the child. So I was running fevers and I was really sick for the last bit of my pregnancy, and we didn't know why. Well, finally figured out, it was a Friday. They finally figured out that Friday. They called me and said, you have CMV. And then they said, it looks like your body's already fighting it off, so we're not going to treat you for it. And I was like, okay. And they said, you're late enough in your pregnancy, your baby should be okay. A little freaky, but, well, that Sunday morning, I got up and my water completely ruptured a month early. So I was rushed to the hospital, and I wouldn't progress, so I had to be induced. And my son was born. He weighed 5 pounds, and he spent a whole month in the NICU. That was a terrible time. That was horrible. My heart goes out to parents who deal with babies in the NICU. It's awful. It's horrible to leave your kid, and you are completely wrecked with emotions. And I had a moment when I was trying to deliver him that he went into distress, and then the doctors were basically kind of panicking, saying, if you don't get him out, we're going to have to rush you to the OR for C-section. And I was like, And I got him out, and he was safe. And yeah, it took him a month to be okay enough to come home. And that was one of the hardest months of my whole life. Now, we don't know why my water broke. It's a mystery. But in between having, sorry, my cat is like freaking out. In between having my first and second son, I had to have a second surgery for endometriosis. About 9 months postpartum with my first son, I ended up getting horrible pain, and I had to be basically rushed in within a few weeks to have another surgery performed. And they had said, it's come back. And that wasn't a whole lot of time. That was probably 2.5 years in between surgeries. And my doctor told me, if you want another baby, you really need to consider it. So a year later, I got pregnant with my second son, and they told me that I had to do fertility treatment within 6 months of trying, and I got pregnant with him on the 5th month. So I got really close, and I dreaded fertility treatment. So I was very lucky with that. This video is probably going to be long. Lots to tell. And my son, my second son, I carried him full term. I had him an hour before his due date. My water broke with him as well, but it wasn't a sudden rupture as it was with my first. It was more of a gradual. It first started in Target. Yeah, that's my luck. Like, I turned to my husband and I was like, my water just broke. We need to leave. He was like, oh shit. So, but no NICU time, perfectly healthy, 7 pounds. He weighed exactly 2 pounds heavier than his brother. But I went a year after that pain-free, although my cycle came back at 6 weeks postpartum, which is fucking insane. My doctor was like, your endometriosis is a beast and it won't quit. Like, it's so I did have a year mostly pain-free because of the IUD and the combination of breastfeeding. Those hormones that are going on, they suppress your period. So I didn't really have a whole lot until probably April of this year was when it started again. So as it stands right now, I am still with using IUD as kind of a treatment because there is no cure for endometriosis. And I have to probably have another surgery at the end of the year. And I don't know how much longer I will be keeping my uterus or if I will have another child. That's a whole nother thing. But endometriosis is just debilitating. It's horrible. There have been times where my husband has had to carry me because I could not walk. I have thrown up from the pain. I have been curled up in a ball on the floor of the bathroom, wishing for death, truthfully, because it's that terrible. And throughout my pregnancies and everything, my doctor has actually told me that my pain tolerance is decently high, considering everything. And that's the thing about chronic illness, is it hardens you to a degree, but it also sucks because this is an invisible illness. If you look at me, you can't tell I'm sick. But there are days where I can barely function, and it's even harder as a parent because my children don't understand why mom is sick. So, but I try to communicate with them. I try to tell them as much as I can for their understanding. Right now, they're only 1 and 3, so. But as they get older, hopefully they'll have a better understanding. And as men, hopefully they will be brought into a good space of understanding a woman's cycle and not feeling weird about it. But that's where I am right now. And it sucks. So if I do end up having surgery, and it will be affecting this channel, it will probably be somewhere around the beginning of the year or the end of this year, I think, is what my doctor said. I meet with her in November, so I'll have more information. But if I do, you guys probably just won't see me for a couple of weeks while I recover. It's not fun, but it's been a long journey, and I will always try to advocate for women suffering with endometriosis. It sucks, and there's a sisterhood, a bond that happens with women who go through this disease because it's horrible. So I hope that this video shed light on this disease and how much it sucks. And hopefully, if you are experiencing these symptoms of your period being that horrible, where you're in that much pain that you cannot function, get help. Find a doctor. Find someone who will listen. Don't take no for an answer. I didn't, and I actually was sick. So please advocate for yourself. So that's all I've got for you guys today. Where are we at for this video? I don't even know how long it's been. Oh, 20 minutes. This is the longest video I've ever made. Anyway, I hope to try and record a little bit more this week. It's still going to be nuts because my husband's doing overtime and I am one exhausted mom. But my friend just flew back home today. I had him here for a week visiting as well, but I'll have a little bit more me time to do videos and stuff. Got a lot of good projects coming. Anyway, Blessed be, guys.